Well, Nelson Wiseman is a University of Toronto political science professor and has been a frequent contributor to CPAC election coverage over the years. And he joins me again from Toronto. Professor Wiseman, good to talk to you. Thanks for being with us.
Good day.
You and I have watched a lot of televised leaders debates over the years, I know. And how important are they usually to the outcome of a campaign?
Well, it varies. I don't think there's a single norm. I'd say in most cases, it moves the needle a little bit. In some cases, it doesn't, and in some cases, it can be dramatic. I think the French debate was significant because I think it really weakened the Conservatives in Quebec, and I think it strengthened the position of the Bloc Québécois and the Liberals vis-a-vis the Conservatives. But of course, we've had historic televised debates, which really have had a dramatic impact. I'm thinking, of course, of the free trade debate, where the Liberals did very well under John Turner, but then the Conservatives managed to still turn it around. It varies, and sometimes there's a role to be played just based on the number of characters. I mean, one of the reasons the Liberal Party became a force in British Columbia politics in the 1990s is because the broadcasters decided to allow the Liberal leader to participate in the debate. Gordon Wilson, well, he was a fresh face, people hadn't seen him, and all of a sudden it sounded like, oh, here's an alternative. So that's one of the things that's unpredictable. And tonight we're going to have 6 people on stage. I'm not sure that was a wise decision.
Yeah, let me ask you about that. What about this format? 6 leaders, 5 moderators, 5 themes, and 2 hours. What are you expecting to see?
Well, I don't know what I'm expecting to see, but I have comments on the structure. I mean, I don't think Maxime Bernier should have been in the debate. I'm not sure Elizabeth May should have been in the debate, and I certainly don't think that the Bloc Québécois leader, Monsieur Blanchet, should be in the debate.
How come?
Well, because I don't live in Quebec, and I can't vote for the Bloc Québécois. So here's a party who are they soliciting? The Anglophone vote in Quebec, which is really has been shrinking and is minuscule part, or a very small part of the total vote in Canada. I think it's just taking up time from the major protagonists, who I would call Trudeau, Scheer, and Singh. And maybe you could put May in there, but not give her the full 2 hours. Put her in for 20 minutes, put her in for 30 minutes. Something like that happened in the 1960s when they allowed Tommy Douglas in, not for the full debate, but for part of it. So it reflects just more accurately the strength of the parties.
Okay, let's talk about, you mentioned some names here. Who do you think of, let's keep it, I guess, to those 3, to Trudeau, Scheer, and Jagmeet Singh for the time we have. I mean, who do you think has the biggest challenge tonight?
Well, Scheer has the biggest challenge, and I think that's because it's just his style. He doesn't have the ease, I think, that Trudeau has, and I think in the past week he's picked up a fair bit of garbage that he didn't have, like his stretched and padded CV, the fact that he's a dual citizen. On the other hand, Trudeau now has to defend a record of 4 years. See, Trudeau had a big breakthrough 4 years ago because the expectations were so low.
Right.
Harper's communications director said if he showed up with pants, he will have won. Well, he showed up, and he had pants on. Mulcair said he was going to wipe the floor with them. Well, actually, Mulcair was very effective in Parliament, but not as effective in the debate.
Right.
I think Singh doesn't have much to lose. He's quite likable. He comes across, but there is a strong bias among many people. They're very uncomfortable with how he looks. And that's a reality. And it came through from his supporters in New Brunswick, his former supporters.
We know how important those, let's talk about the GTA and the 905 for a moment, and ridings in Quebec and BC. There's some really key ridings at play in this election. It seems to me many of those ridings involve battles for progressives. And how much will we hear tonight from Justin Trudeau about the need for progressives to rally behind him to try and block Conservatives?
Oh, yeah, that's what Trudeau's going to do. I don't know if he'll use those exact words, but actually, when you get to an area like the GTA, the NDP is completely uncompetitive. So the race there, I think it's quite critical. Similarly, in Quebec, I don't think it matters much. Where it would have an effect are places like the lower mainland of British Columbia and in larger cities like in Regina to try to hang on to Goodale seat, in Winnipeg, I mean, in places like Calgary and Edmonton, but I think the Liberals are doomed in both of those cities.
How you talked about how did Jagmeet Singh and Elizabeth May fight to hold on to those progressive voters they have? Because I think we'll hear a lot from Justin Trudeau tonight about maybe I didn't do everything I was supposed to do. Maybe you're not happy with all my policies, but we're going to hear a lot about the don't go backwards to the Conservatives and Andrew Scheer. Go forward, but to do that, I need all of those people out there to rally behind me. And how do Jagmeet Singh and Elizabeth May counter that message?
Well, they'll point out that the Liberals didn't do actually what they promised, and thus you can't rely on them. That's been a standard NDP message. And then Elizabeth May will focus, I think, on the environment and flunk the Liberal record. Now, can I say something broader about the debate, however?
Sure.
The overwhelm, most of the people that watch the debate are already committed. And debates tend to reinforce people's pre-existing biases. What struck me is a survey was done of the French debate, and in that survey, only 14% of the respondents said they watched the whole debate. 27%, I think, said they watched parts of it. And I took that to mean that they probably saw, the very short clips on TV during the news. And that
Right.
can be very important. But, 37% heard about it. So what I think is in some ways even more important than the debate is the way it gets interpreted in the media the following day, because that's how a lot of people find out about it. And there tends to be a herd instinct in the press. So a consensus develops around who won, who lost, and then based on what people read in some of the leading outlets, like let's say the Globe and Mail or CTV or CBC, and then other outlets pile in and adopt that line. I recall very much in the 1988 debate over free trade, the CBC claimed it had uncommitted voters who were watching. At the end of the debate, they were interviewed, and you didn't get the impression that Turner had won. Well, 24 hours later, all of a sudden, all the media were screaming Turner had won. And I thought, well, if these were uncommitted voters, how come that didn't come across? Quite frankly, I didn't think any of them were uncommitted, but they were thrilled to be on TV. So they said they were uncommitted.
All right. Well, certainly lots to think about as we get ready for this debate tonight. Always great to get your perspective, Nelson Wiseman. Good to talk to you again.
Thank you.